He didn't see it coming. It was a quiet night. The street was empty. The sky looked normal. He was just walking home after a long day. Nothing felt strange. Nothing warned him. But then the air started to hum. It was low at first, like a whisper. Then it got louder. It felt like the ground was shaking, but no one else was around. He looked up. The sky was splitting open. Not like a crack, like something was pulling it apart. A bright light shot down and hit him in the chest. He tried to move, but his body froze. He couldn't scream. He couldn't run. The light grew stronger, and the world around him faded away. Everything went dark. He woke up on cold metal. His head hurt. His hands were tied. The air smelled strange like burning wires and wet stone. His ears rang. He opened his eyes and saw a ceiling with moving lights. Not stars, not sky. Something alien. He sat up slowly. The room was dark, but not empty. Across from him were others. Some looked human, some didn't. One had 4 arms. Another had glowing eyes. One was just a tall shadow with sharp edges. They all stared at him. No one spoke. A loud clang echoed through the room. A door slid open with a hiss. Light poured in. 3 creatures walked in tall, armored, with faces that looked like broken glass and sharp teeth. They carried long weapons that buzzed with blue energy. One of them pointed at the human. It growled something he didn't understand, then it grabbed. He tried to fight, kicked, struggled, but the creature was too strong. It dragged him out of the room and down a long hallway. The walls were alive, pulsing like veins. Everything looked unnatural, wrong. They threw him into another room and locked the door. This one was smaller. No windows, just a single light above. On the floor were deep scratches, like someone had tried to claw their way out. He touched the wall. It was hot. The air was thick. Suddenly, a voice came from above. Cold, robotic. Subject 47. Species. Human. Status. Unknown threat. Observation begins now. A loud hum filled the room. Then something dropped from the ceiling. It looked like a spider made of metal and wires. It crawled toward him fast. He backed away, heart racing, fists ready, but it jumped onto his arm. Before he could stop it, pain, sharp and deep, like needles inside his skin. He screamed. The spider machine lit up in mid-strange clicking sounds. Then it stopped moving, and just like that, it fell off and rolled away. The door opened again. 2. Guards came in. No words, no warning. They threw something at his feet. Clothes. Not human clothes. Just something to cover him. Then they left. He sat there for a while, breathing hard, shaking. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know why he was taken. But he knew one thing: this wasn't Earth, and whoever brought him here didn't care if he lived or died. Hours passed. Or maybe days. Time didn't feel normal here. There were no windows. No clocks. Just silence and the sound of machines. Then one night, if it was night, the door opened again. This time, he wasn't alone. 3 other prisoners were pushed into the room with him. One looked like a bird standing on 2 legs. Another was tall and thin with no mouth. The third looked almost human, but had silver eyes and skin that shimmered. They all sat far from him, watching, waiting. No one talked. But then the bird creature made a small sound. A kind of chirp. He looked at it. It pointed to its mouth, then pointed at him. He understood. It wanted to know if he could speak. He nodded. He said quietly. The bird creature looked confused. Then it pressed something on its neck, and a soft voice came out. You fight tomorrow. He frowned. What fight? But the creature didn't answer. That night he couldn't sleep. He lay on the cold floor, staring at the ceiling. His mind raced. Why was he here? What did they want from him? And what did fight mean? Was it a test? A trap? A game? He didn't know. But he knew one thing. If they expected him to just give up, they were wrong. Because no matter where he was, or what they were, he was still a human. And humans fight back. The sound came before the pain. A loud, electric snap echoed through the dark cell, and his body jerked. Something had shocked him. He fell to his knees, gasping. The other prisoners looked away. They had seen this before. The door opened with a hiss. Bright lights spilled in. Two guards entered, each carrying strange weapons, long rods that buzzed, with blue fire at the tips. Without saying a word, they grabbed him by the arms and pulled him out. He tried to fight again. He twisted, kicked, shouted, but it didn't matter. One guard hit him in the stomach with the electric rod. The pain shot through his chest like lightning. His legs stopped working. They dragged him down a hallway that pulsed red. The walls looked alive, beating, glowing, breathing. It felt like he was walking inside the stomach of some massive, evil thing. The hum of machines echoed all around him. He could hear screams from far away, not human screams. Something worse. They reached a round door. It slid open, slowly. Bright white lights burst out. He was thrown inside. He landed on sand, warm, soft. Strange. As his eyes adjusted, he saw the walls. High, black metal, spikes on the edges. A cage, but not like one for animals. A fighting cage. On the other side stood something waiting for him. It was twice his size. Its skin was dark green and rough like stone. Its arms were as thick as his waist. Its eyes glowed red. And in its hand was a long, jagged blade. A voice echoed from above. Next challenge. One human, one hunter. No mercy. He looked up and saw a glass room above the arena. Inside were creatures watching. Not just guards, some looked important. Rich, calm, amused. One of them raised its hand, and a loud horn blasted through the cage. The fight had begun. The beast charged. He didn't think. He ran to the side, barely avoiding the first swing. The blade sliced through the air where his head had been just seconds ago. He stumbled but stayed on his feet. The crowd above laughed. Some cheered. Some screamed for blood. The beast turned and came again. This time he rolled under the attack. Sand filled his mouth. His hand scraped on metal. He grabbed a piece of broken bone lying on the ground. It wasn't much, but it was something. He waited. The beast came closer. Slower now. It was watching him. Studying him, he gripped the bone. Tighter. The beast roared and swung low. He jumped. The blade missed. He stabbed the bone deep. Into the beast's leg. It roared again, but this time, in tame. He ran. He didn't try to fight head on. He couldn't win that way. He was too small. Too weak, but he was fast. Smart. Human. Every time the beast charged, he dodged. He let it wear itself out. Let it bleed. Let it get tired. 10 minutes passed. Maybe more. Then it happened. The beast lifted its blade high. Too slow this time. Too heavy. He rushed forward. He jumped on its back. He wrapped his arm around its neck and squeezed. The beast grabbed him. Slammed him against the wall. Once. Twice. 3 times. But he held on. Blood poured from his mouth. His head rang like a bell. But he didn't let go. Finally, the beast dropped to one knee. Then both. And then it fell. The arena went silent. No one moved. No one cheered. They had expected the human to die. Instead. He stood alone. Bloody, bruised, barely breathing, but alive. The voice above spoke again. Victory. Human. The door opened behind him. Guards came in. They pointed their weapons but didn't touch him. Not this time. They backed away as he walked out on his own. Back in the hallway, one of the guards whispered something in a strange language. But he understood the tone. Fear. They were afraid of him now. He was taken back to his cell. The other prisoners looked up as he entered. No one said a word at first. Then the bird creature stood. It placed its hand on its chest, then pointed at him. A sign of respect. One by one, the others did the same. He didn't smile. He didn't feel proud. He only felt pain, anger, confusion. Why had they made him fight? What did they want? He sat down, breathing hard. In a corner. Something beeped. A small screen lit up on the wall. Something new. Words appeared in a strange language. Then the words changed. Now he could read them. You will fight again. Soon. He stared at the screen, fists clenched. They wanted a show. They wanted him to be an animal, but he wasn't. He was something they didn't understand yet. He was human Dot, and he was just getting started. He sat in the dark. His back hurt. His ribs felt broken. His hands shook, but he didn't rest. He stared at the wall where the screen had lit up earlier. It was dark now, but he remembered the words, "You will fight again, soon." He wasn't afraid this time. He was angry. They were using him like a toy, like a monster in a game, like a thing, but he wasn't broken. Not yet. Then he heard a sound. Not from the door. From the wall. Soft. Faint. A scratching. He stood up slowly and walked toward it. He pressed his ear to the cold metal. Nothing. Then again. Scratch. Scratch. From the other side. He tapped twice. Silence. Then dashed 3 taps back. Someone was there. He crouched and tapped again. 2 short. 1 long. Then he heard a voice. Not clear. Not loud. But real. It came through a tiny crack in the wall. A whisper. "Can you hear me?" He froze. A voice. Not a guard. Not a machine. A prisoner. He leaned in. "Yes," he whispered back. The voice spoke slowly. "You fought in the cage. You didn't kill." I didn't want to," he replied. "You're different," the voice said. "We've been watching you. You don't act like them. You think—" He said nothing. "We're planning something," the voice continued. "An escape?" His heart beat faster. "Escape?" He whispered. Double quotes, "Yes. But we need someone to help lead them. Someone the others trust. Someone they believe can survive." He backed away from the wall. He looked at the bird creature, still awake. The others were asleep, but something had changed. He could feel it. The whisper came again. "Will you help us?" He didn't answer right away. He just said, "Tell me how." Over the next days, or what he thought were days, more messages came. Always in whispers. Different voices. Different cracks in the wall. Different languages. But all said the same thing. They were tired of being slaves. They didn't know who had built this ship. Some said it was part of an old war fleet. Others said it was run by something called the Core. Whatever it was, it didn't care who suffered as long as the games continued. He learned from each voice. He learned which guards were lazy, which hallways had cameras, where the food came from, where the power lines ran under the floors. He also learned something strange. This ship wasn't just a prison. It was a moving fortress traveling from system to system, stealing people from different planets, testing them, breaking them, and broadcasting the fights to rich creatures across the galaxy like a sick show. And worst of all, most prisoners didn't fight back. They were too scared, too tired, too broken. But after he fought, something changed. Now they whispered his name. Not his real name. No one knew it. But they called him the one who fights without chains. They believed in him. Even the guards noticed. They gave him more food. They watched him closer. But they didn't understand they were helping the fire grow. And then one night, it began. A new prisoner was brought into the cell. A small one. Weak, limping. One eye swollen shut. The guards threw him in and laughed. He didn't move. The human rushed over and lifted him. The small one coughed. "They made me fight, but I wouldn't." The others gathered around. The small one pointed to his chest. Something metal stuck out of his skin. A round chip. It was glowing. "It's a tracker," the bird creature said. "They'll know where he is at all times." The human stared at the chip. An idea hit him like lightning. He looked at the others. "If we take this out," he said, "and attach it to something else, something small, we can make them think we're in one place while we're somewhere else." The others looked confused. Then one of them smiled. They understood. They worked at night, in silence. One creature used a sharp bone to cut the chip out. Another built a fake shell from food scraps and metal bits. The human tied it to a rat-like creature that lived in the corners of the cell. When the time was right, they let the creature loose into the ventilation shaft. The chip followed it. The guards never knew. That night, the real work began. He was taken to fight again. This time there were two opponents. Fast armored. Dangerous. He didn't fight them head on. He tricked them into attacking each other. The crowd went wild, but he wasn't thinking about the fight. He was buying time. While the cameras were on him, his allies made their first move. Wire was cut in the kitchen. A lock was jammed in a supply room. A guard's key was stolen. No one noticed. The next day, a power line sparked. Lights flickered. Systems GLITC ATD. It was working, but they only had one chance. One mistake, and it was over. Later, back in the cell, he looked at the others. They nodded. Tomorrow was the day. No more whispers. No more waiting. The rebellion would begin inside a ship built to break them, and leading it was one human. The one who had survived the cage, the one who never gave up, the one they now followed without question. He didn't want to be a hero, but fate had chosen him anyway, and the galaxy was about to find out what a human could really do. The time had come. There was no warning siren, no loud explosion, no dramatic scream. The rebellion started with silence. It began when the food trays didn't arrive. That had never happened before. The guards noticed first. They shouted, slammed their fists on doors, checked control panels. Nothing responded. The lights blinked. Screens went dark. One guard hit a panel, but the buttons didn't work. A quiet message appeared in red letters. System reset in progress. That was the signal. Inside the cells, across the prison floors, across different species and shapes and skin, prisoners stood together. They had no armor, no real weapons, but they had hope. They had a plan. And now, they had a leader. The human stood in the center of his cell. The others gathered behind him. Their eyes were sharp. Their fists were ready. No one spoke. They didn't need to. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. Then the wall cracked open, not with force from inside. A small panel, one only the smallest prisoner could reach, was pulled loose. Behind it, wires sparked and twisted. The bird creature reached, and with careful claws and connected two lines. A surge of power lit the wall. The door slid open. The hallway was empty, but only for a second. An alarm blared. The red lights blinked faster. The ship had noticed. Footsteps came. Fast. Heavy. Guards shouted orders. But it was too late. They were already running. They didn't run to escape. Not yet. First, they ran to free the others. One by one, cells opened. Creatures stumbled out weak. Confused, scared. The human grabbed them, pulled them up, told them to move, helped them walk. He didn't leave anyone behind. He remembered what it was like at first. Day. Alone. Lost. Cold. He wouldn't let anyone else feel that again. The guards tried to fight back, but the power was flickering. Doors weren't locking. Lights kept failing. The machines that once watched everything now blinked. USELESLY. The human reached the armory door. It was sealed tight. No code. No way in. He turned to the tall, thin prisoner who had no mouth but eyes like fire. The prisoner raised both hands and they began to glow. Heat poured from his palms. The door metal turned red, then white, then liquid. It fell open like melted wax. Inside were weapons. Not many. Not enough for everyone. So the human picked up one and turned to the crowd. He didn't hand them out. He placed the weapons in the hands of the ones who had lost the most. The small one who had been tortured. The winged creature who had lost a sibling in the cage. The silent prisoner who still bore burn marks on his back. These weren't just tools. They were symbols. The guards weren't ready. They had fought beasts, but they had never fought belief. The human led the charge. He moved fast through smoke and sparks, taking hallways the guards thought were secure. He didn't shoot to kill unless he had to. But when he did, he didn't miss. He knew pain, he knew fear, but now he had something stronger. Purpose. They reached the core control room, locked, guards inside. One of the prisoners had a map burned into his mind from his time as a technician. He whispered where the weak spots were. The human nodded. He climbed the side wall, pulled himself up to a hidden vent. He crawled through darkness, through heat and smoke, until he reached a small opening. He could see the guards below, laughing, drinking. They didn't think prisoners could ever get this far. The human dropped in. They never saw him coming. Fight was fast, loud, violent. In the end, the guards lay on the floor. The human stood over the main panel. He didn't understand the language, but one of the prisoners did. They guided him, button by button, code by code. Systems unlocked. Cells opened. Shields dropped. The ship was no longer theirs. It was free. For the first time, the prisoners weren't captives. They were crew. But it wasn't over. The human stared at the stars through the main window. His hands rested on the edge of the console. Behind him, dozens of freed beings waited. Someone asked, "Where do we go now?" He looked back, eyes burning with fire. "Everywhere," he said. "We find the others, we break their chains. And we end this everywhere it exists." They weren't just rebels now. They were a storm, and at the center of it stood a human no one expected to survive the first day. Now, he was the spark that would set the galaxy on fire. The ship moved through space like a wounded beast. Its engines were old. Its systems were damaged. Sparks still dropped from the ceiling. Half the lights didn't work. But inside, something stronger than steel was growing. Hope. The human stood at the center of the main control deck. Around him were dozens of beings, some tall, some small, some with wings, some with claws, but all looking to him now. He didn't ask for this. He never wanted to lead. But no one else had stood up when the pain began. And now, all eyes waited for his word. They had taken the ship. They had escaped their cages, but they were not safe. One of the winged scouts flew in from the upper deck. Its feathers were burned. Blood dripped from one leg. It dropped something on the floor, a black disc with a glowing red mark. The scout said only one word: tracked. The silence in the room grew heavy. They hadn't escaped unnoticed. Something was following them. The human picked up the device. The red mark blinked slowly. Then faster. Then stopped. He looked out the window. Nothing. Men. Something moved. A shape in the stars. Huge. Silent. Wrong. It wasn't chasing them. It was waiting. The alien ship was massive. Bigger than any they had. Team. Not a prison. Not a guard post. This was something else. A collector. A hunter. Made of black metal and sharp points. It didn't glow. It didn't hum. It just floated there like a shadow with teeth. The small prisoner who once worked the control. Systems stared at the screen. This ship is not part of the games, he said. It belongs to the core. What's the core? The human asked. The prisoner shook his head. Nobody knows. Some say it's not alive. Some say it was alive once, but it doesn't feel. It doesn't stop. It watches. It records. It consumes. The human looked back at the dark shape outside. The core had found them. A voice filled the ship. It wasn't a sound. It was a pressure in the skull. Cold, slow, cruel. You are broken parts. You are noise. Return to the order. Return to silence. The prisoners screamed. Some fell to the floor. Some bled from their ears. One creature with crystal skin shattered from the sound. But the human stood still. He looked at the others. They want to scare us, he said. They want us to think we're small. He pointed to the control panel. Then let's show them what small things can do. They moved quickly. They couldn't run the core. Ship was faster, stronger. But maybe it wasn't ready. The humans sent teams across their own ship. One to the engines, one to the weapons bay, one to the shield control, even though the shields were barely holding together. In one team. The most important went with him. To the cargo hold. Deep inside the ship, under rusted plates and broken walls, was a forgotten room. Inside were machines no one had used in years. Old tech. Forbidden tech. The prisoners called it the Ghost Lab. Some said it was where the first experiments happened before the games, before the cages. When the ship was still used for research, there they found it, a box the size of a bed, covered in dust, glowing faintly blue. The human wiped it clean. Inside was a suit not made of metal. Not made of cloth. Made of something living. It shifted when he touched it, like it was breathing. The small prisoner read the faded words on the panel. This was a prototype, he whispered. Made for war, but too dangerous, too unpredictable. It connects to the wearer's mind. Changes with emotion. The human didn't blink. Open it. The moment the suit touched his skin, everything changed. Breath caught. His eyes burned. His heart felt like it would explode. Memories hit him that weren't his. A world dying. A city burning. Voices crying out. Then, silence. The suit had seen death before it had caused it. But now it followed him. Rose from the table. Not taller. Not stronger, just more. He looked at the others. They stepped back without thinking. He wasn't just a fighter now. He was a weapon. The core ship made its move. It didn't fire missiles. It sent beams of light. Silent. Clean. Meant to cut and burn. Without warning, the human flew the ship himself. Hands on the controls. Suit connected directly into the system. The ship responded faster than it ever had. It turned when he thought. It dodged before he spoke. The core ship missed. Then he fired back. Not with guns. With speed. He flew straight into the core's side. Right through its shields. The prisoners screamed, holding on for life. The hole cracked. Air hissed. But they broke through. They entered the core ship. Inside was not metal. It was like bone. The walls pulsed. The floors moved. It was alive. The human led the charge down the hallways. He didn't walk. He ran. The suit adjusted. Changed shape. Grew blades when he needed them. Formed shields when shots were fired. Glowed when the darkness closed in. The core sent guardians, machines shaped like hands. Like teeth. Like crawling things. They fought hard, but they didn't understand something. The core believed in control. The human believed in freedom. And that made him dangerous. He reached the main chamber. A giant eye opened before him. No pupil. No color. Just emptiness. You are wrong. It said, you should not be. You're a mistake. The human stared into it. And smiled. I am the mistake. He said. Then he jumped. Straight into the eye. And everything turned to fire. The eye was gone. The light vanished. The human floated in darkness. He wasn't dead. He could feel his heart still beating. The suit still wrapped around him like a second skin, but everything was quiet now. No walls, no floor, no air, only silence. Then he heard it, not a sound. A voice inside his head. It was not one voice. It was many thousands speaking together, echoing from nowhere. You are not one of us. You carry the noise. You bring the chaos. You cannot stay. The human opened his eyes. Somehow, they were glowing through the black. He looked forward and saw shapes all around him. Shadows of things that had no shape. Thoughts without bodies. Memory without time. This was the heart of the core. It was not a machine. It was a mind. A prison of minds. And it was trying to swallow. His he could feel it pulling. Showing him things. A perfect galaxy. No war. No pain. No hunger. But also no freedom. No choice. No truth. He gritted his teeth. Images flashed through his mind. Earth. Long gone now. His first days in the cell. The friends he made. The pain he watched. The ones who didn't survive. If peace means silence, he thought, then I'd rather scream forever. He screamed then. Not with his mouth, but with his mind. The suit responded. It lit up like a sun, burning blue and white. The shadows hissed and screamed. The voices cracked. Then something snapped. He fell. He landed hard on metal. The floor. Real this time. Smoke in the air. Sparks above. Bodies lying all around. Not dead. Just unconscious. His team. His friends. The ones who followed him inside the core ship. They were alive. He staggered to his feet. The suit was damaged. One side. Torn open. But he could still move. He walked through the ruined hallway. The core ship was falling apart. Not breaking. Dying. He reached the exit gate. The others were waking up. One by one, they followed him out. As they left. A blast of light came. From the core. Then silence. And the black ship disappeared. Not exploded. Just vanished. Like it was never there. They drifted in space now. In their broken ship. Power low. Engines weak. But they were free. Truly free. The message went out, first to one world, then another. The prisoners had escaped. The human had destroyed a core vessel. He had walked into a mine prison and walked back out. Story spread faster than light. A human, once taken from a quiet blue planet, had now become a symbol, a storm wrapped in skin. Some called him the breaker of chains. Some called him the ghost from the black. Others whispered, only one word, rebellion. On the far side of the galaxy, where the rulers of the systems lived in floating palaces and golden ships, the story reached cold ears, the masters of the arenas. The ones who built the cages, who controlled the guards, who sent the core. They did not believe the story at first. They laughed. A human, a nobody. That species had no claws. No fire, no wings, just soft skin and short lives. But then the second core ship disappeared, and then a prison station was burned, not by a fleet, by a single. Stolen ship, the same one, and him still alive. Still, moving, still freeing others. They didn't laugh after that, now. The galaxy was waking up. Some ran in fear. Others grabbed weapons and followed him. On backwater moons, prisoners rose up. Guards dropped their guns and joined the crowd. On cold mining colonies, slaves looked to the stars and whispered, he's coming. And on dark silent ships, commanders watched his path and asked the same question. Where would he strike next? He didn't send messages. He didn't speak to the galaxy. He let the fire speak for him. Every time he freed a ship. Every time he saved another prisoner. Every time he stared down those who said, obey. His silence became louder than their orders. Inside him, something else was growing. The suit was changing him, it whispered to him at night. In the moments when no one watched, it showed him futures. Somewhere he won. Somewhere he became. Something else, It asked questions. Why do you fight? How far will you go? Will you become the thing you hate to destroy it? The human didn't answer. He just kept moving. But in his heart, he knew there was a cost to freedom, and he hadn't paid it yet, but it was coming. And when it did, he would face it with fire in his eyes. Because now, he wasn't just a simple he was the match. And the galaxy was dry wood waiting to burn. The galaxy was changing, no one could stop it now. The silent fear that ruled for centuries was cracking. Guards who once obeyed without question now hesitated. Commanders who laughed at the idea of a rebellion now watched the stars with dread. He was coming, not with an army, but with something worse. Belief. He was a flame they couldn't smother. A story they couldn't kill. They tried, over and over. They sent traps, ships, fleets. He survived them all. Some said he couldn't be killed. But the truth was simpler. He just refused to die. He knew it wasn't about him anymore. It was bigger. Now that every ship he freed, every prisoner he lifted up, every station he burned, it made him less of a man and more of an idea. And ideas don't bleed. His ship floated near the edge of the core worlds now, the center of power, where the rulers lived in cities made of clouds and rings of gold, where the ones who built the game sat on high towers, untouched by war. They thought they were gods. They thought no one could reach them. They were wrong. Inside the ship, it was quiet. The crew had changed. No longer just prisoners. Now leaders, fighters, some from races who once fought each other, now sitting side by side, still in the same suit. Though it looked different now, though it had changed, grown, it wrapped around him like a shadow made of fire, it no longer followed him, it had become him. He stood before a map, it showed the core citadel, the heart of the system. A fortress wrapped in metal, with a shield that could stop a star. The plan was clear. Break through, expose the truth, and end it. Not just for revenge, but for everyone who was still in chains. They flew straight into death. 3 ships with stolen parts, weak engines. Half their weapons held together with wires, but they didn't stop. The enemy sent 10 ships after them. They still didn't stop. Then 20 more. The crew didn't panic. They looked to him, and he said just one thing. We ended today. Then the battle began. The stars lit up with fire. Metal screamed. Alarms rang out. One ship exploded beside them. A friend gone. No time to cry. They kept moving. Another ship hit. Smoke filled the hallways. Still moving. Then their ship was struck. The wall tore open. Bodies flew into space. He grabbed a rail. Pulled a wounded fighter back inside. He didn't stop. Not even when fire burned his arm. Not even when the suit cracked. He kept going. The Citadel was ahead. Now, closer. Then they broke through. Smashed straight into the side of the fortress. The ship didn't land. It crashed. The front tore open. Flames. Smoke. Pain. He stood up, bleeding, limping, but alive. The last ones followed him out, together. They ran into the fortress. The halls were gold. The guards wore armor. Made of crystal. They didn't expect anyone to get this far. They didn't think he would come in person. He didn't slow down. His eyes burned with fire. His steps shook the floor. The suit roared around him, and the guards moved aside. Some dropped their weapons. Some even joined him. He reached the final chamber. Inside sat the ones who ruled everything. 7 of them. Their faces were old and strange, but their eyes were full of fear, because they knew he wasn't here to talk. You think you've won, one said, but you're just one voice. He looked at them. Ben behind. Hundreds now. Not just prisoners. Not just rebels. People. Free people. He turned back. That's the point. One voice was enough to break your silence. Then he raised his hand. The suit glowed. One final pulse of light. Not a weapon, a message. Sent across. Every signal. To every planet. Every ship. Every prison. It showed what he had seen. What they had hidden. The games. The pain. The lies. The truth. The whole galaxy saw it. And everything changed. The rulers tried to run, but it was too late. The crowds were rising. The walls were breaking. The rebellion wasn't just a story. Now, it was real. And it was everywhere. Years past. The war ended. The old systems fell. New ones rose. Some good, some not. But people remembered. They remembered the man who wore the living suit. Who was taken in chains and became the chain breaker. Some said he died in that last battle. Others said he left. Disappeared into the stars. Looking for new fires to light. But in every dark corner of space, when someone was beaten, broken, or locked away, they looked up. And whispered the same name. The one who turned pain into power. The one who started a galaxy-wide fire. With nothing but hope. The human. The symbol. The rebellion.